Hi there. How we get to like different types of music can be through many ways. You can hear a record on the radio, or somebody can play your record and you like it, or it can be gradual. You kind of, it's in the background and you gradually find yourself humming a tune. With Guns N' Roses, I was never really aware of them, and then I was in Joburg, and the family, Clint's family who hosted me, they put on a DVD of Guns N' Roses concert. I sat and I didn't have much interest in it, but then I realised that a couple of the tunes, Sweet Child of Mine in particular, I was aware of, and then November Rain as well, and then it picked up my interest so much so that when I got home, I got hold of their greatest hits, and really like quite a few of their numbers. Don't Cry, for example, I think is fantastic. So the book that I'm going to talk about today, It's So Easy and Other Lies by Duff McKagen, who's the bass player for Guns N' Roses, and I read his book with some interest, and he grew up in Seattle. He was never really interested in school, didn't finish high school, more interested in music. His brother introduced him to the bass. He also played drums in some bands in the area, and became more adept at the bass, and decided to move to LA. Fell in with a group of musicians there, and I'm compressing the story quite a bit, obviously, which included Axl Rose, the singer, and Slash, the guitarist, which became Guns N' Roses, and they were playing at the Troubadour, a club there, living in an attic in absolute grime, kind of paying their dues, and then they decided to hitchhike to Seattle to do some concerts there, and there were some privations involved in this, and it kind of bonded them in a similar way to the Hamburg experience bonded the Beatles. You know, shared experiences made them a tighter band. They came back, and they were writing numbers, and this led to the album Appetite for Destruction, which really launched their career. They started touring. They came over to the UK with a big hit. In fact, they were bigger in the UK than back home at one stage. Worldwide popularity, and a couple of things. One, they were heavily into drugs all the way through, and alcohol. And Duff McKagen in particular, he's taken every drug known to man, and he warns against the dangers of crystal meth in the book. He tried it, I think, once, he says, and he said that is something to avoid, the effects of that. And he's even tried heroin, and he said crystal meth's too much. So that's kind of a warning for anyone. And the other thing is Axl Rose just turned into a complete monster, really, delaying for hours before he'd come on stage, keeping the fans waiting, and just terrible behaviour. And in my opinion, he can't even sing. You know, the records are great because you can manipulate it with auto tune, but excuse me, when you see him live, he can't sing. So the drug taking really comes to a head, and Duff looks at his passport, and he's got a visa for, I think it was Czechoslovakia or somewhere, and has no memory at all of visiting that country. And Guns N' Roses starts to disintegrate. He starts putting together other bands and so on. And then the thing, and to me it's the really interesting part of the book, is he has a severe medical emergency where basically his pancreas explodes. He's rushed into hospital, and they do manage to save his life. It's mainly due to alcohol. I think he was drinking, bottles of wine. And his mother comes to visit him, and she is in tears. And that really is the point. They say that drug addicts have to hit rock bottom to rebound and come out of it. And that's the point when he realizes that he shouldn't be doing this to his mother. Mother should not see her son die before her. And he makes a decision. And the doctor comes to him and says, look, I can arrange rehab for you. And he goes, no, I'm going to do it on my own. And the doctor, you can see, he's heard it a million times and he thinks he's just going to go back to his old ways. But Duff McKagen has made his mind up. And he goes back to his rather large house in LA, and he's living there on his own, and he's being clean, he's not drinking, and his only companion is his dog. So, to be fair to the dog, he starts taking the dog for walks. And then he starts, he finds a bike in the garage and starts cycling so the dog can have exercise. And he finds he likes this, his new sober lifestyle and some regular exercise. And he joins a cycling club to the point where he starts entering mountain biking competitions and becomes quite good at them. Anyway, a guy in the club says to him, look, you're becoming quite fit, but you're not doing anything for your upper body. Here's a gym, and gives him an address of a gym. So he goes along to this gym, and lo and behold, it's Benny the Jet Urquidez. Now, back then, Benny the Jet was really renowned. This is really before mixed martial arts kicked off. And he was on the scene. In fact, his whole family, the Urquidez family, they were renowned for competitions in karate in the California area. And so it was kind of semi-contact. So Duff McKagen doesn't have a clue who he is. He's never been in that world. And Benny the Jet doesn't have a clue who Duff McKagen is. He's never been interested in rock music. So he starts training and goes through the normal process of a beginner, accepts the discipline of the martial arts, gets into it to the point where he actually becomes an assistant instructor, becomes really good at this. So he really has turned his life around. He's become physically fit and sober. So he's got all this free time, and he decides to have a look at the band's finances. But he hasn't got a clue as to how to read a balance sheet or anything like that. So he decides to take some college courses, and the college just laugh at him because he hasn't graduated high school. So he has to go and get his diploma for that. Then he goes to college and starts studying economics and finances, to the point where he starts writing a column for a national newspaper on the subject, and becomes a columnist as well in other areas, and gets back into music, starts a band called Velvet Revolver, and he starts doing a lot of studio work and so on. And it's quite sweet, really, because he meets a woman who was not involved in the rock industry, unlike all the groupies he's previously been associated with, and settles down, gets married, starts a family, and he has daughters. And there's a rather sweet scene where it's his daughter's birthday, she's about 12, and he's at the party, and they're saying to him, don't embarrass us, Dad, don't start dancing and all. This was a guy who was considered one of the coolest guys in the world, and his daughters think he's just a dad. And so for me, and I've recommended this book to quite a few people, that if you find yourself straying into addiction, uh, there is light at the end of the tunnel if you can make that decision, uh, take the right steps. Uh, Duff McKagen did it without any support in the kind of conventional sense, you know, counsellors and a rehab clinic. But he had support with the people that he was out training with on bikes and then in the gym. And he does credit martial arts with a lot of getting his life back together, the discipline, the structure, and so on. It's a great book for martial arts fans, and it's also a great book for music fans. So I found it really interesting to read. Uh, it's so easy and otherwise.